Hello and welcome to the Craft Beer Corner. For today's beer review, we're jumping into a big wheat wine from Adroit Theory. This specific wheat wine is called Death Metal. It clocks in at 11.1% ABV. As always, they give us a ghost number. The number on this one is 969, and Adroit Theory is based in Purcellville, Virginia. Though it does specifically state on the can this was brewed at their Orlando facility. So it looks like they've got a southeastern corridor facility as well. So label art on this one, it just says death metal and it's got kind of this flame motif. So, kind of going with the theme of the name of the beer. No tricks, no gimmicks, no barrel aging, no adjuncts, just a classic wheat wine. So let's get this cracked. And we're going to use our nice all-purpose glass here. All right. Yeah, that's looking lovely. Yeah, wheat wines typically are lighter than their barley wine counterparts. Not always, but this is pretty prototypical, kind of this caramelly color. Looks very, very nice. I'm not going to quite put the whole beer in there. It's forming a nice head. I want to give it room to do its thing. Visually, yeah, very lovely. That's a true caramel color, caramelly amber color. Absolutely beautiful in the glass. I can tell you, I can see very slowly moving, very fine champagne-like bubbles coming up all over. So that obviously that tight carbonation contributed to this really lush, thick, creamy head on top. Let's get right over it for a sniff. Oh yeah. There's a lot of nice aroma coming off of this. There's a ton of caramel and there's a little sweetness to it on the nose. There's even underlying currents of what smells a bit like grapes or grape juice. So it's got this kind of rich quality to it. Wheat wines share a lot of commonalities with barley wines, certainly oat wines as well. But they're all distinctly their own thing and a little bit different. Changing the grain with which it's brewed or primarily brewed does have a big impact on the final result. And this really looks quite nice. I love barley wines, I love wheat wines, oat wines. So we're just going to jump right in and see what this one is about. Take one. That's a big beer. Got a lot of heft to it. Big, bold flavor. Gotta say, this has a lot more of a bitter forward nature to it than I was anticipating. And this is maybe a little bit more interesting compared to the other wheat wines that I've had. I'm not saying better or worse, just kind of in a different direction. So there's a lot that's happening in this beer, and there's a lot that is really personally pleasantly surprising me. So let's talk about it. First, the texture. This is 11.1%. It's a high ABV beer, and it feels heavy. This has real presence to it as you swallow. On the palate, you can really feel the resistance too. This one does get quite creamy when you agitate around the palate. Very, very nice and creamy. So texturally and weight-wise, it's very nice. It feels like an 11.1% wheat wine should. In terms of flavor profile, this is where this specific wheat wine differs from the vast majority that I've had. So the first thing that I noticed when I swallowed was there is a nice kick of bitters. Indeed, it's still lingering on the back of my palate. There is a real bitter presence to this that is not particularly common in this style in my experience. I'm not saying that they can't have them. I'm just saying this is not so much the norm. I personally really like it. And what it does is it's kind of binding to the underlying qualities of the malt bill. And on this, really where I'm getting these bitters, it's very much an earthy bitter. So it almost tastes like somebody took just a ton of classic English Fuggle hops and used those as the bittering agent in this wheat wine. Just a higher volume to draw out more acids and more bitters. It's really, really nice. In terms of this malt bill, the flavors are really quite nice. It reminds me almost like a bigger version of, say, a Märzen Oktoberfest style beer or even a Bock. It's obviously quite malty, though we're talking about roasted wheat here, obviously not barley. So it's got this nice underlying grain-like quality to it. It's got this richness to it. And there is indeed a lot of caramel notes underpinning it, and going along with classic roasty lines you would find normally in a darker barley-based beer. But this is really, really nice. I didn't expect that. It really does remind me the most of almost like an imperial version of a Märzen, or like a Doppel or Triple Bock. Not exactly the same, because it's got different kind of qualities and profiles, but it's really, really nice. And then there's this earthy bittering to it that just completely took me by surprise, and it absolutely works in this beer. Unbelievably good. So we're going to jump back in for a second sip, let everything re-intensify. I'll pick it apart, make sure I didn't miss anything, then we'll talk more in depth about this finish. But very nice wheat wine. On the front, that's where the little bit of sweetness comes from. There's a little bit of kind of fruity elements that pop in and out, and it tastes again like almost like a deep, rich fruit cobbler. Maybe a little bit of fig, a little bit of apricot kind of on the front, and it's kind of immediately followed by this slowly intensifying earthy bitterness that opens up. And kind of once that peaks after about 3, 4, 5 seconds, that's when you really start to get the underlying malt bill characteristic, this rich caramelly quality that comes through. And it's very, very nice. And then from about that point forward, all the kind of subtle fruity accents go away, and it's really just this nice bold combination of earthy bitters paired with this caramel quality and a really nice grain-like quality. This one reminds me a lot of, say, a Gose or a Berliner Weiss's malt bill, in that it's got this very grain-like quality. There's kind of freshly toasted baked bread and crumb and crust, a little bit biscuity. It's really, really nice. And then it's got this caramel richness undertone to it, paired with this nice haunting earthy bitter. I really, really like this. This beer surprised me, very pleasantly so. I was not expecting that, and I really like what I just experienced here. I'm going to take my time, sip on this one, call it my scores. When we come back, we'll get this beer ranked from top to bottom. All right, now that we've gotten to enjoy this beer, we're going to get it ranked. This was Adroit Theory's Death Metal, a wheat wine clocking in at 11.1% ABV. Adroit Theory is based in Purcellville, Virginia. So this is one of those beers that nearly swept the board in all categories with top scores, but there were two where it just did miss top marks. So I won't go through all of them, but I'll talk about the two categories where it didn't get a 10 out of 10. The first one starts with aroma. So the aroma on this beer was very, very nice. And what I could smell was really interesting. A nice mix of kind of underlying deep, rich fruit, almost like that cobbler, some kind of baked confection type vibe, in tandem with a caramelly sense. And overall, the pungency was well above average, but it didn't quite have the intensity or all of the hallmarks I would normally associate with a wheat wine. Indeed, this was a very interesting wheat wine. I personally liked it, but it was a little bit different. There were some underlying kind of grape juice kind of aromas as well, but it smelled really, really nice and well above average pungency. The aroma did get a 9 out of 10. The categories in the row behind that got perfect 10s, taste, body, and mouthfeel. Then we move on to the final category that did not get a perfect score, and that was finish. This was another category that only missed the mark by a hair. And honestly, it had a much longer than average finish. And really what drove it on this one was that intensity of the bitters that was in this beer that came from the hops. Like I said, it was almost like they took just a boatload of a classic Fuggle, very earthy quality hop, and just a ton of them to extract those acids into the boil. You don't normally get that in a wheat wine. So that was the driving force on the length of the finish on this beer. But what this one didn't do that is pretty common with wheat wines was set up with a massive intensity of flavor, especially at this 11.1 ABV. Yes, it was delicious what I got, but it didn't quite have the intensity you normally get with a wheat wine. So really the only chance it had at extending that finish was the bitters. And it did do a very good job, but not quite top tier for the style. I only dock 1 point here as well. Finish gets a 9 out of 10. Every other category after that, perfect 10 out of 10. That's head and retention, appearance, balance, feeling in the intangible. That is my subjective thoughts on the beer. And then finally, example of the style. So only missing 2 points. This beer did get a total score of a 98 out of 100. So this was not your average wheat wine. Not that for my money, any wheat wine is really average. It's a far less common beer style. We're blessed to be in a time where we are, where there's so many craft brewers trying all these older styles, being inventive, trying things that other people haven't, and just throwing it out there to see what sticks. So yes, we can get access to wheat wines. 10, 15 years ago, good luck trying to find a wheat wine. Even a barley wine was challenging to find. But yeah, we're very, very blessed to be as craft beer connoisseurs in the time that we are. And this one was absolutely fantastic. Not your average wheat wine, but I think that the deviations it had from the norm were all positives, at least from my personal subjective feelings on the matter. You may have different ones, but I think it's minimally worth your while. 98 out of 100, that is a very high score indeed, and I would recommend this beer to any wheat wine fan, barley wine fan, oat wine fan, anybody that's into these big, bold beers. This is one absolutely worth your time. Folks, that's today's review. As always, I do sincerely appreciate you tuning in today. Please don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. If you want to stay in the loop when our videos go live, just turn on your notifications, hit that bell icon. It is right next to the subscribe button. Until next time, keep it beer, keep it craft. We'll see you on the next one. Cheers.